Authentic relationships is about creating a learning environment through dialogue and through conversation. It's about creating a space where everyone has a voice and everyone is participating in the conversation. And it's about creating an environment where people can learn from each other. Each of us has our own lived experience, and we all are worthy and creative and resourceful and have wisdom within us. And the more that we can create spaces where participants can share with each other, they can also learn from each other. And it helps to move the environment from learning as an individual way of being to collective learning, and especially when it comes to life skills and making life choices and how we view ourselves and each other. These insights can really be activated and inspired when people hear from people who are like themselves, and when they know that, oh, someone like me has the same challenges I have, or they also feel like they're broken or something's wrong with them, and they are making new choices, so maybe I can too. So it's a way of really creating an environment where participants feel that they can be in relationship with each other. It creates safety, it creates trust, and it also engages them in participating in their life and this module that you're teaching them in this conversation in a way that's meaningful to them and relates to their own life experience. If you've ever been to a party, and if you arrive on your own and you don't know anyone in the party, it can feel very anxious, provoking. I know I can feel that way. I can feel very nervous, very anxious, and like, oh, I don't know anyone here. But as soon as I meet with two other people, I can relax, think, okay, I have some friends here. I can enjoy myself more. So there's actually science behind this. David Rock has done a lot of work in neuroscience and has a model called SCARF. And in that, it demonstrates how the brain is actively seeking like 30 times a second for 5 things. We're looking for status. So who am I and how do I relate with the other people in this room? Like, who's the leader here and what's the pecking order? Certainty, how certain am I about what's going to happen here and how uncertain am I about what's next? Autonomy, how much choice do I have? How much agency do I have? How much of my own independence do I have? Relatedness, which is about relationships and how connected or related do I feel with the people who are around me? Do I feel like I'm in relationship, or do I feel like I'm in a top-down environment and being told what to do? And the 5th one is fairness. How fair is what's happening in my world? That is SCARF. Status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. So the brain is actively seeking that 30 times a second. And what we can do as facilitators is help to calm that down in the first 3 to 5 minutes of a session. One of the core principles that informs my practice as a facilitator is Ubuntu. It is a South African word that means I am because we are. It's the practice of interdependence and the recognition that we are social animals and we are deeply connected to each other and the natural environment that we're a part of. And the more that we can bring our awareness to this interdependence, and the more that we can restore connection with ourselves and with each other and with the land, the more that we can access wisdom, balance, and resilience. And for me, in my own journey of burnout and well-being, it has been remembering who I am, coming back to our original selves as creators, as part of the environment, as part of the community, that we are not separate, isolated individuals. We are part of a collective whole. And in that interdependence, there is harmony. In that interdependence, there is beauty, there is community, there is connection, there is belonging. So many of us are searching for that. And it's actually a shift of consciousness, a shift of a way of seeing ourselves as part of being in community, being in relationship with each other, not striving to my own success all on my own, especially as a facilitator, that it's just not all up to me. This session is up to the participants as well. So I'll do my part, bring my best self, and the outcome of the session really depends on the participation of the participants. And we're co-creating this together. So the concept of Ubuntu really helps to remind me that a conversation, a dialogue, a session, a training session, they are all conversations, and we co-create them together in collaboration with each other. By remembering that we are part of an interdependent whole, it can help to release a whole bunch of pressure as a facilitator, and also help to empower the voices of the participants to contribute and to share. First one, having an inclusive mindset, really is about embodying this concept of Ubuntu and this recognition and acknowledgement of interdependence. And one way I like to do that is by doing an intention setting before the session, having a conversation with myself about who are the participants for me. How do I see them? Do I see them as broken, going nowhere, needing to be fixed? I have to tell them the right way to do things. Or do I see them as creators, as collaborators, as people who are sovereign, who have agency, and who have choice in their lives? And it's a difference that makes a difference, how I view a person. And so taking responsibility as a facilitator, show up with right intention and right perspective, really supports the participants to feel that themselves. When I see you as worthy and whole and complete, and that you have all of the resources inside of you, and that my work is to bring that out of you and to support you to find your strength and your gifts and align you with your vision and your potential so that you can move forward in your life in making the biggest difference for you, and whatever that looks like for you, that's the most empowering gift that we can give to someone. So the second practice we call connection before content. I learned this from Marilyn Mahoney in People Development. It's how we began every one of our meetings and every one of our sessions, and it's just a way of doing things now in my work. And it's a difference that makes a difference, because connection before content is about creating the environment for participants to connect and get to know each other. So you could do that with an icebreaker. You could do it with a question like, who are you? What brought you here today? You could do it with asking about what inspires you most. It's about evoking an opportunity for some dialogue and shared conversation right as you begin the conversation. So the hub modules begin with the check-in practice for this reason: to create connection, create relationship, and to create an environment where everyone's voices can be heard. So the third practice for building authentic relationships is shared agreements. And this is important in creating an environment of safety and helping the participants to know what's expected of them and each other, creating an environment of certainty and also autonomy in knowing what's my part, what's your part, what's the difference between them. There's a variety of different ways of creating group agreements. Some people like to ask the group what do they need to feel safe and to be in a learning environment. Asking the participants themselves is a wonderful way to co-create the environment and create a safe space that is meaningful to each of them. This is important also, is to notice where there is agreement and where there isn't agreement, and to lean into that a bit and to meet people where they're at. To create by listening really is the most important skill here, in including everyone's voice in an environment that matters to them. The 4 group agreements that I like to offer to groups that I work with include show up, so bring your presence, participate fully, bring your voice, speak your truth, share what your experience is, share your challenges, encouraging people to be vulnerable, to speak from their own lived experience. Let go of outcomes, let go of the judgments, and to let go of our assessments and our inner critic that can tell us what we should be doing and not be doing, what success and what failure is, and really allow ourselves to be learners and by letting go of the outcomes, and to listen for what has heart and meaning. That when others are speaking, to really listen for what is in their heart and speak from my heart. So the hub modules are set up in a way to remind you in creating group agreements by prompting you to ask the group what their agreements are and inviting you to share what matters to you as well as a facilitator.